So what's the reason it's going to go up, and when?
Oh, it's going to go up huge.
When?
And now. I mean, now is the bottom.
If you like seeing billionaire Ron Barron say that the Tesla stock bottom is now, and you like seeing that the stock is about 5% up today while the markets are down, click the like button. I will go through all of today's Tesla stock news, but I think Ron Barron is driving the stock up today.
Now is the bottom.
Okay.
And so what they're doing is they're going into robo-taxis, and they're going to make the low-cost car. So they're making the low-cost car, except they're making it, they have excess capacity right now. They have capacity to make 3 million cars a year. They're making 1.8 million. So there's 1.2 million cars they can make extra in an existing facility with no more capital, and they're not going to make the cars direct cost as cheaply as they did before, as they expected to. But overall, until they expect to do 5 million of these new cars. No one has the compute, no one has the data.
But just give me the timing. That's the whole game.
Now.
Now?
Now. It's now. All the cars are going to be electric, and I think this hybrid is just a sort of a holding off action so the automobile companies don't have to lose money on the electric cars. But the electric cars, I think, is going to be all the cars 10, 15 years from now. And I think hybrids, I know you love hybrids, that's not going to last either. They're too expensive, they're not effective enough, and they're not going to be part of the mix either. It's going to be all electric.
Ford just reported its earnings, and it's very interesting. Pay attention. Their EPS is better than expected. Revenue is slightly worse than expected. But we look at their EV business, and it's a whole different story. This is a direct quote from Ford. This is not me saying it. Revenue is down 84% in Ford's EV business, basically, due to industry-wide pricing pressure. You can replace industry-wide with Tesla pricing pressure. Their revenue basically disappeared, and the losses remain massive. Naturally, Omar concludes that Elon's tweets caused Ford's EV revenue to fall 84%.
The reason the stock is down is not because of the quarter. The reason the stock is down...
Well, the stock's up because of the stuff that he said.
Well, the stock's down so much.
Well, it's down 35% year to date. It's down 1%, or it's up 1% over the course of the last year.
Yeah, it's not so exciting to be up 1% in a year when everything is, the market is so strong. So, I don't worry about short term, but I do look around all the time and see everyone getting rich, and I'm not poor, but I haven't made a lot of progress in the last 3 years. So therefore, I think it's like a rubber band. I'm going to catch up again. So what I think about the reason the stock is down is because people were concerned that he was going to abandon the idea of having a low-cost car and go all into robo-taxis. That's the reason the stock is down. And then there was a report in Reuters said he's canceling this new factory that's going to make low-cost cars, $25,000 cars, competition from China. So there's only one company in China that's profitable, by the way. That's BYD, Warren's company, Buffett's company. And that's a company that makes $1 billion a quarter, and our company makes $4 billion a quarter. No one else makes money. Ford loses so much. General Motors, everyone loses money on this. It's much more complicated to make these cars.
And GM expects to lose $1.7 billion on Cruise, implying cumulative losses since GM's acquisition in 2016 of $11.5 billion. Now, you could say, oh, Tesla is not making money from FSD. Hold on. Aren't people buying FSD? Tesla is investing a lot of money into FSD development, yes, but people are actually purchasing it and subscribing to the subscription. But you cannot buy FSD from GM. You can only take a ride on one of their robotaxis, of which they have very, very few. And Ron Barron today on TV said that it costs $250,000 just to build one robotaxi for these companies. I think that number is lower now, but the point is it's really high.
They've sold 6 million cars, and 3.5 or 4 million are collecting data. So the data is what's really valuable. They're doubling their amount of compute every 90 days.
I don't disagree with you. The question is a timing question of how quickly you can actually put these things into the wild. Just give me the timing. That's the whole game.
Now.
Now?
Now. It's now. People think it's forever.
When I say now, you believe on August 8th
they're going to make
that they're going to announce robotaxis that will be available now?
For 20,000, well, they're going to talk about it in August. 08. $20,000 car, they're going to make $40,000 or $50,000 a car a year. And if they have 1 million cars, 2 million cars, 5 million cars, they're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars.
I believe that's the promise of the company, and I think it's amazing. The reason I'm asking the question about the timing is I think there's a view that those vehicles are not comparable yet to what Waymo or the other guys are doing. And by the way, those guys can't even do it in some cities, most cities, actually.
You will be amazed at how quickly it'll come. I mean, maybe it's not this moment in robo, but it's certainly this moment in autonomous.
And for the government approval that would come with that?
Well, it takes a while for all those things to happen, 2 or 3 years for everything. But that's, they can make hundreds of billions of dollars a year on that business. Hundreds of billions, not including the batteries, not including the AI, not including, robots.
Tesla's pay package for Elon Musk.
Well, I think that the class action lawsuit for someone who had 10 shares or something, and the lawyers wanting $5 billion, that's crazy. And so the way it seems to me is this, there was a contract that was arranged and arrived at and agreed to, and how do you go back on a contract? This doesn't seem fair. And the only reason the company is surviving because the guy slept on the floor under his desk.
Jason says, if you vote against Elon's compensation package, you're the type to enjoy setting your money on fire. Because if Elon feels like he has been wronged, you do not want to be on the side that has wronged him. And yes, it is deeply wrong to not pay someone for 6 years of excruciatingly painful work while they outperformed so much that it took everyone's breath away. Elon is owed this compensation package. He has earned it as well as the voting power that comes with it. He will admit none of this because he's very smart. He will not advocate for himself, but don't be naive. Tesla investors need to step up and not only do what's right, but what's rational. This really matters to Elon, to the future of Tesla, all of its employees, investors, customers, and suppliers. I have given 100 times more thought into this compensation package issue than anything related to earnings or the stock price, and it worries me greatly that many of our largest investors fail to fully comprehend the implications of a no vote. Set your stock price expectations aside for a moment. We all recently witnessed how quickly the stock price can change over a few words on a report and some new disclosures about future plans. These things don't matter in the long run. This vote does. Elon has done an incredible job steadily growing Tesla since the beginning, and he will continue to do so if incentivized. Please think long term. Please vote carefully. And now I will go through all of today's Tesla stock news, starting with a Tesla bear, sort of, turning bullish? Well, specifically about FSD. It's Fred from Electric. I am willing to admit that things could start to move in the right direction quickly, making it interesting. Tesla now has the AI training capacity to compete with the biggest AI players and is growing fast. The automaker is taking a similar approach as it did with battery cells, buying everything you can get your hands on from suppliers and building your own. For batteries, that means buying from Panasonic, LG, CATL, etc. and building 4680 cells itself. For AI training compute, it means buying servers from NVIDIA and building Dojo. It worked for batteries and it could work for AI training also. I think Tesla deserves a meaningful credibility bump in the self-driving space with V12. Honestly, if I see decent improvements over the next few updates, I might become a true believer. I had FSD beta on my car for the better part of 2 years and saw very few improvements. V12 alone felt like a 20 to 30% overall improvement, and I'm now way more confident when using FSD. A 20 to 30% improvement is a major understatement. Look at this pickup truck and look at what Tesla is seeing. It is seeing that it is going to turn right before it does, even though the truck is not signaling that it is turning right. And I never had intervention-free drives with FSD V11, but with V12, I have had many so far. Now, of course, many of them were relatively simple 10 to 15 minute drives, but that never happened on V11. And in any seriously difficult situation, construction zones, serious traffic jams, it would be useless. I mean, V11, but V12 can actually handle a lot of these. It might do something rude, but it doesn't jeopardize my safety usually like V11 did. So the problems that the software still has, they're not nowhere near as big as what V11 had, and Fred admits that too. I still see some significant issues, but they seem to be more fixable. As I said in the past though, with any praise of FSD, there should come a clear message that it's important to remain extremely vigilant when using FSD. You need to be ready to take control at all times. I definitely agree. And at the risk of repeating myself for 1,000 times, Tesla should release FSD disengagement data. I have observed one thing with my disengagements though. Let's say I have a drive with no interventions. At the end of the drive, I usually take over or I disengage. Not because the car did anything, but because I just arrived. I don't think that should count as a disengagement. So Tesla needs to differentiate between, okay, you're good now, between, uh-oh, the car did something stupid. And sometimes I just take over because I don't like the navigation directions and I want to go through a different area. That definitely doesn't count as a critical disengagement. For example, yesterday it took me through a road where I had to go through about 7 intersections with 4-way stop signs. I hate those because I have to pay so much attention when going through them. I would rather take a slightly longer route, which will maybe take me 20 more seconds to get to my final destinations instead of going through these annoying intersections. But a robotaxi could easily do that. I just don't like supervising through an area like that. By the way, it performed great through all of these intersections.